Hi everyone, we're out here today just south of Wapawekka Lake, which is east of Lac La Ronge. And this is a particular Catena sequence that we're going to do today, looking at three different soil pits. This is kind of an interesting complex here where we have a sand dune just over in this area here, and as we go down slope we move into a depressional wetland area. And so we're going to do three pits, one here kind of on the slope of this sand dune, moving down towards this depressional area right at the transition zone between that and the wetland area, and then do a pit in the wetland area. And you'll see some very different kinds of soils, some of the most exciting soils that I've seen here in the province of Saskatchewan. Before I get into the soil pit that I have here in front of me, I wanted just to talk a little bit about the eco site. I did the 360 camera walking down the slope and into the wetland area, and again here we are in a jack pine stand that was harvested about 20 years ago. We have some sand heather on the ground, some reindeer lichen, and if I were to classify this eco site, it would be a BP2, which is a jack pine lichen on moderately fresh sand. And so that's the eco site that I would have for this particular spot of where this pit is. All right, let's have a look at this pit and we'll just see what kind of horizons we can see in here. If you look closely at the surface, we have this lighter grayish area here. And so I would even say something like this would probably be your AHE. Below it, you start getting into this reddish color. And so you probably have something like this for a boundary for your B layer, and I would call this a BM horizon because of the reddish color. And below that, now we're into this material which is the same all the way down, and this would be your C horizon. So basically we have an AHE on the surface here, a BM, and a C horizon. And because of this scheme of horizons, we would call this a Brunasol. And because of our location, and I know that the pHs for this particular soil are less than 5.5, so in fact this makes this a district Brunasol, and this probably be an orthic district Brunasol. Now, I just want to bring something to your attention here. This area, because it was harvested 20 years ago, and I've been coming here probably the last 15 years, there was a lot less ground vegetation here, and so there was a lot of exposed mineral soil. And over the years, there's been a lot of blowing, as it is like today, wind blowing. And so we could have a lot of material that is actually blowing around here. And if you can see real closely in some spots on this pit, there is actually a layer of C horizon on top of this AHE horizon, which then buries this. And because of this C horizon on top, we could actually call this a cumulus regosol. But I'm going to go with just the Brunasol because it's a very nice example of a Brunasol soil up here. But just to give you an idea that if you do have these kinds of parent materials with very fine sand, exposed mineral soil, there is a chance that you can get sand coming on top, covering your AHE horizon. We have a nice example of that on this other side of the pit, which you can't see. But if you looked at the 360 camera, you can see on this side that there is actually an AHE horizon that is actually buried. And if that was the case, and there are places like that here in the province where you have active sand moving on things like sand dunes, it can be a cumulus regosol. So the parent material for this whole area, I would say, is aeolian, and that is the result of this very, very fine sand that we have in the soil pit. All right, I just want to show you an example of the three horizons, the AHE, which has this light gray color, the BM horizon, which is reddish in color, and then the C horizon, which is very light in color. And when I dry these samples out, the texture from these comes out to be a very fine sand. And so you can imagine the drainage for this particular site would be a rapid or a rapid drainage class. Just to review what we've seen here in the pit, this is our AHE horizon, this grayish color on the surface. This is about 5 centimeters thick. This is our BM horizon, which goes down to about 20 centimeters. So it is about 15 centimeters thick. And then our C horizon starts right below that. So this sequence of horizons makes this a Brunasol. And because I know the pHs here are less than 5.5, this makes it a district grape group, and this would be an orthic district Brunasol at this particular site.